So just a little agenda of what we will go through today together. We'll cover just some general information about the general knowledge test. We'll discuss the English language skills test section and do some practice problems. The same with reading. We'll do some practice problems, discuss the writing text test section, look at some examples and non-examples. And I have an offer for you if you still need to take the writing section. If you want to, I'll give you a prompt and you can go ahead and write the essay. Just make sure you time yourself and stay within the time that we talk about. And if you want to email it to me, I'll give you my information at the end. I'll use the rubric to score it and send it back to you so you'll kind of know where you would fall if you were to take the writing test right now. Also, we'll finally talk about some study ideas. I'll give you some references, some places where you can go and find some more resources. And at the end, we're going to have a small competition and there will be a small prize. Remember, I told you I work in education, so the prize will be very small, but it'll be worth it, trust me. Okay, so just some norms, if you don't mind being engaged, responding to me. I know you all have been in this virtual environment, so it's very difficult sometimes when you're the presenter talking to a screen and no one's responding to you. So if you could just kind of give me some feedback, tell me to slow down, speed up, whatever you need to help make this more amenable to you, I would appreciate that. Be respectful of others on the call. You know, we're all learning, so just no rude remarks about anyone's answers or questions or anything like that. This is a safe space. And if I'm talking and moving fast, but you have a question that you don't want to forget, you can always put it in the chat. Every 30 minutes, we're going to stop and do a chat check. So, and then after we're here for about an hour, we will take a break. Okay, to get started. So, of course, you know, the purpose of the Florida Teacher Certification Examination is to ensure that all teacher candidates demonstrate the necessary content and pedagogical knowledge necessary to effectively instruct students in Florida. And I would venture to say in Florida and beyond, because Florida is reciprocal with a lot of other states. So once you're certified in Florida, you can get certified in other states without having to retake a test. So, and I know that from experience, because originally I was certified in Florida and still have that certificate, but I got my certificate in Georgia by just doing the reciprocal process. No testing was involved. So that's good to know. I haven't had to take this test in over maybe about 20 years. So once you take it and pass it, you're done. Okay. So of course, you know, the general knowledge test is separated into 4 sections. So you have your subtest 1, which is your essay. There's 1 item on the test, just your writing prompt. You have 50 minutes to do it. So I tried to break down everything with how much time you would have per question to just kind of give you an idea of how you need to pace yourself. So for the essay, you have 50 minutes to complete everything. But that's your brainstorming, your rough drafting, your editing, making sure that it's all done within 50 minutes. And that time goes really fast. The English language, that S always gets me. The English language skills test, subtest 2. You have 40 items, you have 40 minutes. So that's 1 minute per item. So you have to kind of pace yourself kind of quickly on that one. The reading test, you have 40 items and you have 55 minutes. So you have about 1 minute and 37 seconds per item to complete that part of the test. I noticed that you'll have a reading passage and then you'll have about 4 questions for that same passage. So that's a good thing that you don't have to read a different passage for every question. And then finally, you have subtest 4, which is the math subtest. And that is a subtest with 45 items. And you have 100 minutes for that test, which is about 2 minutes and 22 seconds per question. Okay, so let's talk about the English language skills subtest. So there are 3 competencies that are covered in this test: knowledge of language structure, knowledge, so that's basically like your sentence structure and how you use words in a sentence. That's 25% of the test. The knowledge of vocabulary application, which is basically, do you know how to use big words? That's basically what that means. And that's another 25% of that test. And then the knowledge of standard English conventions. So that's your commas and your other punctuation and your conjunction. Then those different parts of the conventions of the English language, that's 50% of that test. So let's do some practice questions. Now remember, you have 1 minute to respond to these questions in real life. So we're going to pretend like this is real life. and I'm going to pull the question up, and I'm going to be looking for a response within 1 minute. And I would prefer, let's just go ahead and just take yourself off mute once you know the answer and just tell me the answer, and looking for it within 1 minute. And I just want to do this so you can kind of see how fast that time moves and how 1 minute feels when you're testing. Is everyone ready? I'm hoping that's a yes. Okay. So this is our first question. Go.
I think it is oh God. I think it is C.
That's correct. Ding, ding, ding.
Okay.
And you did it in under a minute.
Whew.
But you were right at about 57 seconds. So you see how fast that feels. And this is an actual test from actual question from the practice test. So you want to just kind of dig in there and read them, but you got to read them carefully because sometimes they change one small thing in order to kind of trip you up. Do you want to go ahead and explain to us, read us the question, explain to us why you chose C?
It says choose a sentence in which the modifiers are correctly placed.
What's a modifier? I'm sorry to cut you off, but just so everyone is clear, what's a modifier?
How I would explain a modifier is something that describes something.
That's exactly what it is.
Okay. So with C, when it says while protesting at the Vietnam War, over 175 demonstrators were arrested for clashing with the Chicago police at the Democratic National Convention. Mm-hmm. I chose that one because the modifier is right before what it's trying to modify. So that's how I thought about it in my head, and I almost went with B, but when you read B, it makes it seems like the police were protesting and not the demonstrators.
Okay. So if you were looking at this test and you say you were teaching a class, say you're a teacher and you're teaching a class, what is something about this question that you think could trip up test takers? And it doesn't have to be just you answering, anyone can answer. But what is something that you see in this question that could trip someone up?
I think A looks like a perfect answer. A could be a perfect answer. Mm-hmm. So I think that'd be something, because my first thing was, okay, A. But because I've taken the English 3 times, I'm realizing that means I'm having issues. So maybe I shouldn't always go with the first answer.
That looks like it could be correct. Mm-hmm. That's correct. Any questions about this one? Did anyone get a different answer and now you're second guessing and wondering why you did that?
Like, what is the modifier? I know he said it, but I forgot. I don't know. I thought it was B.
You want to answer, Jordan? Was that Jordan I was speaking to?
The modifier is something that modifies a word or a word or a statement.
Right. So she's asking in this answer, which word is the modifier?
Protesting would be the modifier, correct?
Wow. Mm-hmm.
So protesting would be modifying the 175 demonstrators.
It's describing who they are.
Right. It's
what they were
that's
doing.
The word.
Right.
That's the word I was trying to think of in my head. Describing what they were doing.
Is that still confusing?
No, that helped.
Okay.
Because with B, it looks like protesting is modifying Chicago police.
Okay.
I wanted to hear confirmation from you. Okay, so we have another one. And this time I would like to hear someone else answer. And you remember you have 1 minute. Here's question number 2.
C.
That's correct. Can you explain to us why you chose C?
I don't know. It just like makes sense how they said everything else. It was just like mow the lawn, wash the cars, clean the bathroom, like, and then collapsed. Like, it just made sense.
Correct. And the question asked for the parallel structure. So we know parallel means same or along the same line. So they use the same type of verb in C as they did in the rest of the sentence. And I saw on the practice test, I saw a few of these asking for the parallel structure. So that's what you just look at, how they use the rest of the verbs and then pick the verb that's used in the same way. Any questions about that one?
No, ma'am.
All right. So let's move on to another one. 1 minute again. Go. Oh, this question is screwy. I'm sorry. I'm going to read to you what it should say. If none of these positions appeals to you, don't despair. There will always be tomorrow's help wanted ads to investigate. So despair should be underlined and there. So you're trying to decide what happens between despair and the word there. I apologize that it has all these extra words in there. If none of these positions appeals to you, don't despair. There will always be tomorrow's help wanted ads to investigate.
I would say no change is necessary.
Okay. Anyone else? Still have a few seconds.
Yeah, I think no change is necessary, but I could see how the question could trip up someone.
Definitely could trip up someone. First of all, the extra words don't help, but the answer is actually B. They're two separate thoughts. So it's don't despair, period. There will always be tomorrow's help wanted ads to investigate. So that one could definitely trip you up because I probably would have thought that it was a comma, but that would be considered a run-on sentence if I didn't teach it. Questions about this one?
No.
No? Okay. We're going to go on. Another practice one. This is question number 4 and go.
Is it A?
No. Think about what, I'm sorry.
Is it B?
I think
It is B. It is B. And I would have chosen A too, but if you have to look at the modifier. And so in this situation or these sentences, which word do you think is considered the modifier or the word that's describing?
Rejuvenated.
I
Right.
was.
And if you think about who was rejuvenated or what was rejuvenated as a person, it has to be I, correct? So that's the reason it's B. The nap wasn't rejuvenated, the person was. Okay, this is our last practice question. Question 5. Oh, I'm sorry, go.
Wouldn't it be B?
It is B.
Yeah,
Why
B.
did you choose B?
It's just like basically the sentence, the contents of the sentence, basically, because it says the first sentence is Daniel Shays was a militia captain during the American Revolution, and it says following the war. It's like a transition sentence,
Right,
basically.
it's a sequence.
Yeah.
And then after that sentence, they go on to talk more about the tax policies, which was this, it was introduced in this sentence. So like you said, it's the sequence, it's the order in which it goes. Does anyone have questions about this particular question or wants to know why wasn't another answer choice? Okay, so we are coming to the end of the English language arts section, and I just need to tell you that I didn't know which sections you all needed the most. So once we get to the end of this, if you want to come back to a section and do some more practice, we can. Okay, I kind of did them all even, and then we can always come back if needed. We are going to take a small chat break. Let me see if I can see the chat here. Any questions? Yes, I see some.
No, not
Okay,
really.
no questions about this. Okay, so I'm gonna do a small break in between if you wanna get up and kind of shake your legs and get some water. So let's just do, we don't need anything long. So let's just do about 3 minutes and we'll come right back. Okay, so we will go ahead and move forward. Next, we're going to move into the reading test. And so in the reading test, you cover 3 competencies as well. The knowledge of key ideas and details based on text selection. So that's basically finding the main idea. That's 40% of the test. Knowledge of craft and structure based on text selections, sorry. And that is basically talking about how the author structured the text in order to get certain ideas across. And then you have the knowledge of the integration of information and ideas based on text selections. So that's basically talking about how the author uses ideas and uses different types of text to get their point across. And that's 35% of the test. All items are passage based. So that means that you read a passage and then you have questions that pertain to that particular passage. The passages will be both expository, which as we know is an explanation essay, and narrative, which is more of a story. Each test will contain approximately 5 passages. So we know we have 40 questions for the test and we have 5 passages. So that's about 8 questions per passage. And remember, you have about 1 minute and 27 seconds to answer each question in order to get through all of them. Now, the best advice I can give you for the reading part of the test is when you read the passage, to annotate. So that just means any words that you think will be important, any type of vocabulary that's explained in the text, underline that. Any ideas that stand out to you, highlight or underline that. Any thoughts that you have about the text as you're reading, just kind of jot it in the margin next to the text, because that kind of helps you to formulate your ideas and understand what the text is saying. And you may or may not have to give it a second read. But if you do have to give it a second read, you have that background knowledge from your first read in your notes to help you better understand it the second time around. So it really helps. Anytime I read an informational book or informational article, anything like that, literary I can read, I don't really have to take notes, but essay, sometimes you have to think deeper or dig deeper. I always annotate, and I learned it from teaching my 5th graders to annotate, but it's really helpful even with college and graduate level text. So I always annotate. It really helps you as you go through that text and get to those questions. So let's do some practice questions for reading. Now, the first one is a text, and you can't annotate on the screen. So maybe if you have a piece of paper with you, just kind of jot down ideas or take little notes on a piece of paper. It doesn't have to be fancy. You're not gonna have to turn it in, but just something to help get your juices flowing about the text. And then we'll go to the questions after you finish reading the text. And I'll keep the text up for about 2 minutes. Okay, go. Okay, I'm moving to the first question. This is question number 1 for that same passage. Did someone add it to the chat?
That was me on the break.
Oh, okay. Let me know if you need me to go back to the passage. I know this isn't like the best way to have it without them both being on the screen. I can't hear you. Are you all still with me? Hello? Did everyone come back from the break?
I'm here. I just don't know the answer.
Okay, I was just making sure you all were here with me.
I'm also here. I just don't know the answer as well.
Okay,
I
do you
wasn't
need me to go?
able to get.
I'm sorry, go ahead.
I was in an engagement and I wasn't able to read the paragraph or summary.
Okay, would you all like for me to go back to the passage or just talk about the answer?
Talk about the answer.
Okay, well, the answer for this particular question is A. And is basically that you have to find the main idea. So you read all of the information and find whatever the theme is in the passage. And that's how you find the answer for the central idea. It's the same thing as the main idea. So you're gonna need the passage for the next question as well. So I'm gonna go back to the passage and then we'll go to question 2. It's also a good idea to read the questions first. So I'll let you read the question and then I'll go back to the passage. Okay, so I'm going to go back to the passage, give you a few minutes to look back through it, and then we'll go to question 2. Okay, so I'm going to go forward to question 2. And just let me know when you have the answer to this question. Anyone have the answer for this one? Okay, so I'm going to tell you. Does someone have it before I tell you? Okay, I'm going to tell you the answer to this question is B. He thinks Diaz is a fine man. I'm going to put a pin in the test prep real quick and just talk to you a little bit about inferences. So inferences is something that I noticed that both younger students and older students have a hard time with. I also teach master's level classes, and those students oftentimes have a hard time with inferences. And so I have a couple things I want to show you and talk to you about inferences. Inferencing is something that we do all the time without you even thinking about it. And so let's just talk about inferencing real quick, and then we'll come back to this question. Can you all see the video?
No.
No? Okay, give me 1 second. I think I have to reshare.
You have to optimize your, at the bottom, when you go to share, there's two little
Optimize.
blocks. Yeah. Mhm.
Okay. Can you see it now?
Yes, yes.
Okay. Okay, so we can stop right there. So as you see, it's the question is asking where the bird's going, how do you know? I won't ask you all to answer those questions, but this is just my point of inferencing. So many times when we read passages, say we read a passage about yellow birds chirping in a nest, and the passage would ask us, what color were the birds? How many birds were there? Was there a mama bird? What was the nest like? What was it made of? Those are all questions that we can get the answer from by just reading the passage, or in this case, looking at the picture. But determining where the birds are going, we have to use the information that we have. So we use the information that we come with, which is our background knowledge and the information that was given to us in the story. And then we come to conclusions. And that's all an inference is. We inference all times of day, all the time. If any of you drive, when you are turning at a corner and you're making decisions about when is the right time to turn, that's an inference, because you're using what you already know, which is about how close a car can be to you and you can get out without getting into an accident. Use your knowledge of driving, and you use the rules of the road to make a decision. So all inferencing is using different background information to make a decision. And so a lot of times it's really difficult for students, but I think students make it more difficult than it has to be, because you have all of the information you need and you come with a lot of background information that's going to get you to the answer that you need. So I know that was rather juvenile with the birds chirping and it was a cartoon, but it's just to draw the point of what an inference is. So we're going to go back to the passage, and I would like for someone to point out for me in the passage, how do you know what information in the passage will lead us to believe that the author thinks Diaz was a fine man?
You can say like in the second sentence, I believe,
Mhm.
how Diaz not only participated in all the great events in the conquest, but
Mhm.
as an old man living among almost without funds in Honduras, he happened to realize an ideal, etc. And then you can also notice that in the third paragraph, he also
Mhm.
sets the record straight with Donna Marina. So
Mhm.
those are examples of how you can infer that the author thought that he was a fine man.
Exactly. And then at the end, the author says he showed his humanity and humility as he refused this partnership, et cetera, et cetera. So you're correct. If you take those things in different parts of this passage, it shows you that the author thought highly of Diaz. And that's all you need to make an inference. The reason why inferences are often difficult is because the exact answer is not in the passage. And a lot of times as students, we're trained to go back to the passage and look for the answer. And it's not always there. So in those instances where it's not there, that's when we have to infer. Okay? So we're going to go for another practice question. We have another passage, and then we have 2 questions for that passage. So I'm going to give you enough time to read the passage. I think maybe I switched too quickly last time. So here is our passage. Okay, I'm going to move forward to question 3. Hopefully you had a chance to get through it. I'm sorry, I have question 3 twice. This is question 3 and question 4. So we can start with question 3. Once you have the answer, you can just unmute and tell me what you think it is.
See,
I'm sorry, I didn't hear you.
um, the following. They said, I believe D.
Okay, so D was referenced, but not as one of the unpleasant associations.
Oh, then I would say C then.
That's correct. It's C. And you see how they tried to get you there because they
That was my
did talk
first
about riding
answer,
in the
but, like,
elevator, and that's
I
how the
said
music
some
is
sort of
used.
like,
I didn't hear you.
no, there's someone in the background.
Oh, okay, okay. Okay, question 4, the organizational plan. Do I need to go back to paragraphs 2 and 4 so you can see them again?
Yes.
Okay. I was gonna say, anytime they make reference to specific paragraphs, it's smart to go back. Okay, I'm gonna go back to 3 and 4. If you can answer question 4.
Chronological order.
That's correct. It talks about how things happen in the order that they happen. So first it started here and then it ended up here. So you're absolutely correct. Okay. Any questions about reading? Anything you want to know? Anything I didn't cover? Anything that trips you up that you want to ask about for reading? No? Okay. So let's move forward to writing. Okay. So the writing test is basically how well you express your ideas on paper and also how well you use the grammar conventions as you're writing. So the test skills that are covered on the writing exam are to determine the purpose of writing to task an audience. So is your purpose clear? Provide a section that effectively introduces the topic. Formulate, so that'll be your introduction, making sure that that is, you're doing a good job of introducing your topic and making sure that your audience knows what you're writing about. Formulate a relevant thesis or claim, which is a part of your topic. Organize ideas and details effectively. So do you have paragraphs, and are your ideas in separate paragraphs? I had a parent write me an email yesterday, and I can't describe what how many paragraphs the email was because it was all one paragraph, but it was so long that I had to scroll down 5 times to get to the bottom of it on my phone, and it was just one long paragraph and 2 periods. And so just making sure that you're organizing your ideas, separating your thoughts and separating your topics so it's functional and easy to read. Providing adequate relevant support by citing ample textual evidence. So if you use anyone else's words or anyone else's material, making sure that you cite that. Using a variety of transitional devices effectively throughout and within the text. So every time you transition to a new paragraph, you're not saying next every time, or you're not saying then every time, or therefore, or however. You're using a variety of different transitions. Demonstrating proficient use of college level standard written English, so varying your words, not using only short words, making sure that you're not using text talk. I've noticed that a lot of people spell through now, THRU, which is not how you spell through, THROUGH, but we use through THRU in texting. So making sure that we're using the correct words and that we're using a variety of words. Providing a concluding statement or section that follows from or supports the argument or information presented. So making sure you conclude your writing. You could say in conclusion, finally, anything to indicate that you're wrapping everything up. Use a variety of sentence patterns effectively. So you have some simple sentences, some compound sentences, just different types of sentences, not all the same type sentence throughout your writing. Maintaining a consistent point of view. So you want to stay on topic. If you're talking about a barbecue, and the three major things about this barbecue is the food was good, the people were nice, and the dogs were playing. You want to stay on those topics. You don't want to start talking about, and then afterwards we went to a wedding, if that's not the topic of your writing. And then applying the conventions of standard English. So the same language arts that we went over in that first section, they want to see that you could use it correctly in your writing. Okay, so this is the rubric that they use in your writing subtest. The highest score that you could get in writing is a 6, and the lowest is a 1. So let's look at how the rubric builds on each other. So a level 1, the essay is weak, the main idea is incomplete or ambiguous, meaning you can't find it, and the organization isn't logical. The focus isn't established, the vocabulary and sentence structure are garbled. So basically it's just all over the place. There's no real structure to your writing. That will get you a level 1. The level 2 is rudimentary. So the main idea is incomplete or ambiguous again. Organization is rudimentary. So that just means very elementary. There's nothing to show that you're a college level student or even that you're equipped to teach kids in the school. Focus lapses in coherence. Vocabulary is simplistic and sentence structure is disjointed. So you're not all over the place. Maybe your ideas make sense, but they're not structured very well. And it's hard to figure out exactly what you're talking about. I may have an idea, but I can't really figure out what all of this writing is about. So that's a level 2. So level 3 is emergent. So now I understand what you're writing about, but it's still a bit elementary. So the main idea is stated and may be developed. Organization may be ambiguous. Focus is somewhat maintained. So you pretty much stay on topic. Vocabulary and sentence structure may be repetitive and ineffective. So that's those repeating those transition words and keep continuing to say I and not varying what you're saying or how you're using words in your writing at all. And there are a variety of errors in sentence structure. So you don't know how to use commas, you don't know how to use periods, you don't know how to use a colon and a semicolon. Those type of things are what they're looking at for a score of 3. Now in the score of 4, the essay is adequate. The main idea is stated and adequately developed. Organization is adequately logical. Focus is adequately maintained. Vocabulary and sentence structure are somewhat varied and effective. Errors in sentence structure, usage, and mechanics may be present, but they don't interfere with the communication. And then you come to a 5, which is the main idea is established and mostly developed with specific details and examples. Organization is mostly logical and coherent. Focus is mostly maintained. Vocabulary and sentence structure are mostly varied and effective. Errors in sentence structure, usage, and mechanics are few and mostly insignificant. So remember, they're not saying that you can't make a mistake. I think we all make a mistake with where to put a comma every now and then, or if you use a semicolon here, that kind of thing. As long as it doesn't interfere with the meaning of your essay, and as long as it still helps, you're still on topic, so there's no interference, then you can still pass with a good score. And the 6th essay is notably effective. So this is a stellar essay. The main idea is clearly established. Organization is notable and logical. Focus is consistently maintained. Vocabulary and sentence structure are varied and effective. Errors in sentence structure, usage, and mechanics are few and insignificant. So you see, even in the 6, you can have a few mistakes in your grammar part. I didn't mean to insult you all by reading all of that to you, but I wanted you to see how it builds on each other. You don't have to have a perfect essay to get a good score, but you do have to have those basics taken care of. Okay, so this is the question. This is question 1. So it's the only question on the writing subtest. And I'm just going to go through some of these things with you. So you'll have 50 minutes to plan, write, and proofread your essay. So you only get 50 minutes. You have to do everything in those 50 minutes. I don't know, there's some extra words in here too. I apologize. You must write an original essay that specifically and directly responds to the topic, period. Pre-prepared essays or essays that are discovered to contain memorized sentences or pre-prepared passages will be invalidated. So they'll consider that plagiarism. So if you're at home and you try to memorize what you're going to say, and then you come and put it on paper, or you get an essay from somewhere else and you try to regurgitate it on paper, you'll be marked down for plagiarism. For example, if the essay raters discover passages that appear in 2 or more essays, the essays and the violation will be brought to the attention of the Florida Department of Education and may result in the invalidation of your scores, which we don't want that kind of trouble. Your essay should introduce the topic and then explain the topic and or take a position on the topic and support that position. In order for your essay to be scored, it must address the entire topic. I'm sorry for all these extra words. Apparently never mind. Okay, at least 2 raters will read your essay and each will assign a score. Your essay will not be scored on the position you take or the opinions you express, only on your writing. So here is an essay topic. The sentiment has been expressed that it has become appallingly obvious that our technology has exceeded our humanity. Evaluate whether or not our technology has exceeded our humanity. And so then you have a response box that you type this response in. So this is the topic that I will evaluate for you. So if you want to do an essay on this topic and email it to me, I'll use the rubric to evaluate it for you and I'll email it back to you. If you give me 24 hours, I'll email it back to you and I'll put comments in it so you'll know where you should make adjustments before you take the test. So I'm going to keep it here for a second, and this part right here that's italicized, if you want to write down that topic, if you need to take writing and type the essay and send it to me, I'll make sure I get it back to you within 24 hours. So I'll just stay here for a few minutes so you have a chance to write it down. Okay, so I'm going to move forward. So I'm going to stop sharing this screen and share another one so we can look at some examples of the writing. Okay, give me 1 second to get my technology together. I apologize. Okay. Can you all see this screen? The sample passing response?
Yes.
Okay. So this is a sample from a previous test and this person passed. So we can look through it. I hate to insult you all's intelligence once again, but I'm just going to read it so we can all kind of make sure we're staying on the same page and we're internalizing it the same. Okay. In today's society, technology is the core to most of our daily lives. From our personal cellular devices to televisions, computers, wireless headphones, and tablets, we are constantly in contact with technology. This is especially true of our young people who are being exposed to technology, again, almost from birth in many households. In education, technology usage begins in preschool for many programs. The use of technology at these young ages has several advantages for both students and teachers, including allowing teachers to provide immediate feedback to student responses, increasing student engagement with diversified curriculum, as well as exposing students to topics that would be otherwise impossible without digital versions. I'm gonna stop right there because I feel real silly reading this to college students, and I'll let you all finish. Just unmute and say scroll when you're ready for me to scroll down.
You can scroll.
Okay. Okay, so I'm going to come down to the discussion about why this essay was passing. Okay, so the focus. Basically, this essay remained on focus the whole time. In the thesis, which was in that first paragraph of the sentence, where the author told us what the passage, I'm sorry, in the first paragraph of the essay, the author told us what the essay was going to be about. And they told us that they were going to focus on 2 strategies to address the threats posed by to address the technology, cyberbullying and lack of focus. And that's what the whole essay was about. They stayed on focus. Organization. The first paragraph identified 2 concerns. The next 2 paragraphs develop each concern. Just stick with that. And typically they'll tell you to have like 3 to 5 main ideas in the essay. You don't need that many. Just do 2 and really develop those 2. And then make sure that the paragraphs are logically organized. Support. In the first paragraph, the main idea is effectively placed in context. First of broad technological transformations, and then more specifically of the benefits of technology for education. Both of these contexts are developed with specific examples. Always give examples about the topics to support what you're saying, as proof of what you're saying. 3 strategies are proposed to address cyberbullying, and 2 more are proposed to address the loss of focus. In the third paragraph, specific examples are provided for both the strict policies to govern technology use in the classroom and the means of enforcing strict timelines for technology use. Grammar, sentence structure, and usage. And this is where a lot of people mess up. The essay demonstrates appropriate, precise word usage and multiple examples of effective vocabulary. For example, imperative, daunting, ambiguous, criteria. Just get you about 5 good big words that you could throw in your essay here and there, and that's what they're looking to see. But make sure that you're using the words correctly, because you don't want to use the words incorrectly, because then it shows you don't know what they mean. Although its effectiveness is limited by errors in punctuation, sentence structure is mostly varied. And we saw a couple places where maybe there should have been a comma, or maybe a word was missing, but it didn't interfere with the meaning of the passage. And so that's what they mean when they say that. Errors, conventions, errors in comma usage and apostrophes were present, but do not interfere with communication. Otherwise, errors are few and mostly insignificant. And so that's why that was a passing passage, or essay, I'm sorry. So let's look at a non-passing response. And I'm going to I'll just scroll as I come down as well.
You can scroll down.
Okay. Okay. So I think just from reading it, we can all kind of see the difference between the 2 essays, but I'm going to go through specific feedback for this essay so you can see exactly what this person did for it not to be a passing essay. Focus. The first half of the first paragraph discusses the benefits of technology generally. Only after an abrupt transition, we can always find something bad, does the essay undertake its main idea, the threats posed by the internet. As these threats are not elaborated here, it is unclear how the author's two-part plan will protect students from these threats. The second paragraph strays from the topic when he talks about the bookmarks, he or she, as does the third paragraph when it starts to talk about group chats. So even though those may be good ideas, they don't really support the topic that the author set across in the thesis or in that first paragraph. Although the thesis is usefully restated in the last paragraph, it now includes points not addressed in the essay. Make it fun at the same time, connect to people from all over the world. So I think that kind of demonstrates how it's all over the place. So when we were looking at the rubric and we saw that level 1, 2, and 3 was not a coherent focus, that's what you're seeing here in this essay. Organization. While the essay follows the organizational plan set forth in the first paragraph, bookmarks and group chats, it lacks transitional devices that would establish relationships between paragraphs and the rationale for sequencing of the paragraphs. Connections between sentences are also unclear at times. In the second paragraph, for example, the sentence beginning letting the parents in abruptly shifts the topic away from the benefits of bookmarks. So once again, losing that focus. It is really in your best interest to stay on topic and use supporting sentence for that topic so the first sentence should be what that paragraph is about, the topic of that paragraph, and then the sentences that follow should support that paragraph. So not reiterating, but giving examples of what the paragraph, so for example, if your paragraph is technology training is essential for teachers in order to make sure students are using it for the best instructional strategies. And then you give why that's your position and give examples of what that looks like. And you're just staying on topic. So you have 5 to 8 sentences all about that same topic, and it keeps you from straying. I'm sorry, I got off on a tangent. I did the same thing I'm telling you not to do. Okay, support. While the first paragraph presents a context for the discussion, the context is only generally relevant to the thesis. Meanwhile, the more immediate context of internet threats is almost entirely unsupported. When specific support for internet threats finally arrives in the third paragraph, its effect is only to obscure the paragraph's focus on group chats. So they started talking about internet threats in the group chat paragraph. Like bookmarks before it, and the topic of group chats remains only briefly and generally supported. Sentences are mostly simple, so there are no compound or complex sentences in that essay. Usage errors sometimes interfere with communication. I think we saw that, such as in the sentence, letting the parent in on what the school is doing is a good source on having more people address the issue. That I don't even know what that means. Vocabulary is often ineffective, such as the sentence, but we can always find something bad in any good thing. That didn't really say anything to us. Conventions. Many errors in spelling and punctuation are present, and they do interfere with the meaning of the passage. So I thought it was important, I'm going to stop sharing this. I thought it was important that we looked at an example and a non-example, so you can kind of keep that in mind as you're doing your writing. Once again, I will read your essay. So if you want to do an essay on the topic, it's the same topic actually. So if you want to, don't use their saying, don't use their points. You come up with your own points so you can be responsible for developing them yourself. I will read it and score it for you. And I'll put my email in the chat as soon as I finish sharing my screen. I'll put my email in the chat. Okay, so methods for studying, just for the test in general. Step 1, read the competencies and skills for the exam you're preparing to take. Know what they're asking you. That's very important. It's like giving the kids that you're teaching the standard. Know where you're going. It helps give you some purpose. Read the sample questions and attempt to answer them. Any sample test that you could get your hand on, go ahead and take it. And just keep doing it over and over again because it gets you used to the types of questions that they're asking. And develop a study plan and to focus your study. So if it means that you study for 2 hours every day and you take Saturdays off to give yourself a break, or whatever the plan is that works for you, develop a plan and go with that plan in order to effectively study for your exam. If you study, you can pass. So these are some resources that I use. I don't know if you want to take a screenshot or take a picture with your phone, but just more information on how to study, specific competencies covered on each test, sample test question, practice test, just different things that I found that I thought would be useful. Okay, so I would like for everyone to go to gimkit.com/play. I put it in the chat. And just as educators, something that we always do is share ideas with each other. So this would be an excellent resource to use with your students too, when you start teaching after everyone passed this test, right? So go ahead and go to gimkit.com/play. And then it's going to ask you for a code, a play code. And you're going to enter 70032. I'll put that here as well. So the code is 70032, and you're going to gimkit.com/play. And I don't see anyone here yet, so I'll wait for people to come on over. I see one person, two. Okay, I see you're coming in now. I see Dean, Kamaria, Amaya, Amina. Is anyone else coming over? Anyone else? Going once, going twice. Okay, so we'll go ahead and get the game started. So the game is 10 minutes. There's a series of questions, and the game keeps like a leaderboard. So I kind of keep you up on who's in first place and how close someone is in gaining on them. And at the end of the 10 minutes, the game will automatically stop, and I'll let you know who won, and I'll get your email address so I can send your prize. Is everyone ready? Anyone else want to join? Okay, so we'll go ahead and get started. And once the questions start popping up, just go ahead and answer them. I just started the game. You may go. Do you all see the game?
Yes.
Okay, the game has started. Amina is in first place. Amaya, you're in second. Kamaria, you're in third. Is anyone going to take over that first place? Kamaria and Amaya, you're fighting for second place. Who's going to take that first place from Dr. Shakkira? Maya just took over third place. Maya's gaining on you, Amaya. Amaya just took over first place. Dr. Shakkira, you're now in second. Maya, you're in third place. Let's go, Kamaria and Dean. Let's catch up with those other three. Dr. Shakkira just took back the lead. Amaya, don't let her take you. Come back for her, Amaya. So far, you all have earned $3 as a total.
I don't know if my questions are like messed up, but it's like I can't see the rest of the questions.
You can't see the questions?
I see like partial of the questions, but it's like the second question is talking about an electronics store has a promotion, and I don't see anything. So
is anyone else having an issue?
Yes, I'm having that issue as well.
You are? Okay. I'll go back and stop the game. Okay, I stopped the game because apparently there's an issue with the question, so it wouldn't be fair to continue. But we did end up with Dr. Shakkira in first place, Amaya in second, and Dean in third. So I will keep my promise. And if you all come to session 2 on Saturday, I promise to have all the kinks ironed out, and we'll play it again on Saturday. So before we end tonight, are there any questions, anything you want me to go back over? Anything that we need to cover as far as the reading, writing, or English part of the exam? No? Okay, well, I apologize that my game did not work out. I was very excited about my game, but like I said, I'll make sure that it's all squared away. I'll play it first. I don't know how I'll do that, but I'll figure it out. I'll play it first, so by the time I come to you all, we'll have the questions will be ironed out and everything. I'm not sure what was going on with that, so I'll make sure that that's straightened out by Saturday. If you don't have any additional questions, you can go ahead and log off. Don't forget, if you want me to read your essay and assess it based on the rubric, I'll do that and get it back to you within 24 hours. And my email address is in the chat. If you don't have anything else, then we can go ahead and log off. It was nice meeting you all. Nice working with you. Good luck on the English reading and writing portion of the test. I know you'll do great. And like I said, if we log off and you think of questions, or you're going through your practice materials and you have questions, you can always email me. Even if we're not on this, I make myself available to you to try to help you with any of those questions. We need more great educators. So just let me know if you need anything. Take care.
Remember
Thank
that
you. Good night.
Remember, she'll be back on this Saturday. It's from 8 a.m. to 10 a.m., the same Zoom link. So you all can come back and make sure that you put that in your group me or your other chat.
Our focus will be math, but I'm also going to give time for questions about English reading and writing if you need it. Thank you all
Thank
for being a
you.
great audience. You're
Good
welcome.
night.
Good night.
Shakkira,
Yes.
can you, while it's still going, can you just do your intro again in case, do you want to use this one?
We can.
Okay. We don't have to if you don't want to.
We should. Okay, my name is Dr. Shakkira Akbar. I am an educator of 20 years. I started my teaching career in West Palm Beach, Florida, where I taught, and then I moved to Georgia, and I've been here about 15 years. I've taught 4th and 5th grades, and I'm currently an elementary school principal. My experience runs the gamut. I also teach college level master's courses at Grand Canyon University, where I currently am teaching 4 courses, one being a student teaching course, 2 methods of teaching math courses, and 1 method of teaching science course. I am very excited about potential educators and make myself available to you all in any way that you need me. You can use my email address. I can serve as a mentor if you want to know about the educational career journey. And I can also serve as a resource if you have questions about the certification assessments. I look forward to working with you all.